All right, y'all. So we're officially getting into spring draft evaluations, and over the next few months, I'm gonna start breaking down prospects as we head into the draft cycle. And we're starting the series with receivers. We're not doing rankings or mock drafts just yet. We're just watching the film, the traits, and how these guys actually win. And the way I want to actually start this is going to be a little bit different. So we're starting with receivers, and instead of just throwing them into buckets like, oh, he's a wide receiver 1, he's a wide receiver 2, slot, outside guy, I'm going to be labeling them by their archetype. And basically, what does this player's game feel like, and how do they create value, and where do they stretch the defense? And my goal is to give you a clear picture of how this guy fits in offense, not whether he's good or bad. So with that in mind, the first receiver we're going to start with is Germie Bernard. Now, with the thumbnail, you saw the name Versatile Chain Mover. That's exactly how I view him. He could play a lot of spots, but let's go and get into the tape because I don't even want to explain it too much. I'm going to show y'all what I'm talking about. All right, one thing you will see with him is that on his college tape, he lines up pretty much everywhere. So he's in the backfield right here, but he can line up in any of these spots, not named the tight end, okay? And that speaks to his versatility as a player. And speaking of his versatility as a receiver, I like what he can do with the ball in his hands, not just as a pure receiver. He's going to motion out and they're going to do a screen play for him, all right? And it's literally just getting the ball in his hands where you got these guys out there blocking for him, and he's going to just make something happen. Now, it's 2nd and 13, y'all. Look at this. It's 2nd and 13. He has to get all the way up here to actually get this first down. But when we watch this happen, so you're going to see the motion right here, going to be a quick little slot screen right here, okay? And the blocking sets up for him perfectly. Well, not necessarily perfectly because Ryan Williams just missed his block, but you see when he gets the ball in his hands, he can make a lot of stuff happen, okay? And you see he was able to just get the first down just by making one guy miss, okay? If it's a one-on-one in open field, I'm going to trust Germie Bernard over the next defender, all right? Because look at this. Makes him miss. Now, Ryan Williams still had a hand in this because he still got some hands on him, all right? But he absolutely made him miss. And you can see he got downfield, and it was an easy first down right there. Now they're set up inside the 10. And then another example of that right here is he's right here in the slot. So you're going to go empty with the bunch, and you're going to do a jet motion. They're going to do pretty much kind of like power read where they're going to get this guy folding around like this. And he's going to be reading one of the defensive linemen on the line of scrimmage, all right? And if they squeeze down, he's just going to hand it off. And if they widen with the motion, he's just going to take it and go, okay? But we're going to obviously be the one keeping this because of what the defensive line does. And now, once again, I want to show you his creativity with the ball in his hands because look at this, y'all. So you're going to see he's going to get the ball right here. All right, you're going to be reading defending. That's just a pretty easy give read right here. What you're going to see is not necessarily clear because I don't think it was like clear, role clear on who he's supposed to be blocking right here because now he's going out here, but he's already being blocked by this guy. I would like him just keep going upfield and then have this guy be right there, boom, and now he goes to get the corner, but maybe they just didn't want to block the corners, okay? But you see it's not necessarily a clear picture, but Germie Bernard makes something happen, all right? Because now, you know, he sees this guy's going to commit inside. He's going to just bounce right back outside and get some more yards. And this was a 3rd and 2, and he got 11. And this type of stuff matters, all right? Now, think about this like at its best, you know, when you had Ray McLeod on the team where we could do these jet sweeps so we can pick up a lot of yards and on a short yard situation. That's where it made sense the most, not in a gotta have a moment late in the game, you're doing some BS, okay? But stuff like this, it absolutely can translate to the next level. Something that we run, something really every team runs, and I will say in particular, Kevin Stefanski runs this a lot, and that's sail, okay? Don't know what sail is, you pretty much have a pylon right here by the number 1 receiver, or soon to be number 1 receiver, I should say. And then we're gonna get a switch release right here by Germie Bernard into the sail route, okay? Now, if you watched any of my videos in the past, you know this. We've all seen it like multiple times. Then on the back side, we're going to get this dig where if the coverage pushes over this way, you're going to have your backside dig, one of the hardest routes to throw in football, okay? You're going to get the play action right here. He's going to make the 3-level part of this, and we're going to get the chip into this little sit route right here, okay? Now, defensively, they're in a split field coverage. It looks like quarters because once this guy chips and then just goes under or over the middle, he's going to go in double one. Okay, so we know we have 4 outside guys like this. And this is important to know because if we're in quarters or some kind of split field coverage, we know that this safety right here is responsible for the number 2 receiver. And remember, we have a pylon route right here. So who's number 2 receiver? Germie Bernard. Okay. And it's important to know that his leverage is to protect the post, because we're playing four guys deep, right? We're protecting the post, but what does that leave you vulnerable if you take out this number 1 receiver? It leaves you vulnerable to the boundary, okay? And that's exactly what we're gonna do, all right? And it's like a lot of like nuance to it, because look at this. Remember, like I said, you're supposed to be a switch release right here because you're trying to cause some miscommunication and trying to confuse these guys, and that's exactly what happens, all right? So you're gonna see he does a good job of pacing his route, y'all. He's not gonna just strictly just run off the line and then get behind him. He's gonna try to work immediately and get on the inside of him, pause. And you're gonna see that these guys are just stuck backpedaling. And me personally, if I know I see a switch release where one becomes a new number 2, and I know I'm already protecting the post, I should be expecting some kind of outbreaking route. Okay, whether they want to try to pass this off or whatever, I don't think it'll be necessarily efficient, because remember, we're in some kind of split field coverage, so we know at certain points in this route depth that, hey, I got this guy man to man now. Okay, because remember, it's essentially like cover 0 with a 4-man rush. All right, because these guys, they're already doubling him. Okay, and these guys, they really don't know what's going on. Now what you could also say is that, hey, you get depth underneath this and help your guys out, but he really wasn't worried about that for some reason. But either way, you're gonna get him running this cell route, and you see he doesn't push too far. He doesn't kind of round out his break. He breaks flat because he knows he's a little bit too high. Okay, Ty Simpson gives him a good ball right here, and what he does right here is not a lot of, you don't see a lot of guys doing this. Okay, the body control that he has is like probably up there with the better receivers in his class. Okay, and also his start and stop ability, and as I've mentioned that before. Okay, but look, he catches this ball. Normal receivers, they're gonna catch it and then they're just gonna run out of bounds. Okay, they're not gonna be able to control themselves. But what he does, he catches this ball, stops on the dime, and then gets upfield. He can get north and south in a hurry. And that's what I like about him, because he has that very good start stop ability, can cut on a dime, make a guy miss in space. And he tried to hurdle this guy, and it kind of worked, but he almost cleared him. But you can see that, he can work within the NFL structure and pay attention to those nuances and different pacings and stuff. So that's what I do like about him too. That shows his upside as a pure receiver. And then coming into the next one, you're going to see this is going to be a dagger concept, another NFL concept right here. We're going to get the clear out, and he's going to be the one running the in cut right here. And this also speaks to his IQ of the game, because a lot of receivers really wouldn't do this, but you're going to see what I'm talking about. Okay, they're going to be running some kind of split field coverage. It's a 3 high safety look, and I absolutely hate this defense, honestly. But you're going to see what I'm talking about, where he understands space and leverage. Okay, because now look, when he's running this route, he sees that the defender is favoring him. Hey, I have help towards the sideline, which is the help, by the way, and I'm going to shade you that way. But what he's going to do, he's going to get on his toes and then break his leverage. Okay, and so now that he knows that initially he was facing this way, y'all, okay, he was trying to say, I don't want you going that way. And what does that tell you? That means nobody's going to help him. So he's going to run this in cut with some authority, in my opinion. But look at this, boom, catches it, and he does catch it right on the hash. But what he does is, instead of turning it up this way, he's going to turn it up the other way. Okay, and once again, his start and stop is right up there with the best receivers in his class. Okay, he's not necessarily an elite long speed guy, but he can have this short area quickness to where he can just take off on you. You'll catch him eventually, but that initial burst is what's going to win him that rep. All right, so coming into this eval, I'll be honest, I really wasn't super high on him. As a pure receiver, he always, he didn't always look natural to me. Some of the route work felt a little bit rigid, and he didn't consistently stand out when he was asked to win down the field on his own. Where he really popped up to me is when he was just given the ball and he was allowed to operate, not necessarily when he had to win at the top of a route. And that said, I do think there are things to like. I really do like his short area quickness. I don't think he's necessarily elite fast, but he does have a lot of quickness in this game, and there's a difference between being quick and fast. And I like his creativity when he, has the ball in his hands. He understands space and he can make defenders miss. And he's also comfortable working underneath. And when you manufacture touches for him, you see the vision and feel immediately. He's not going to single-handedly take over a game like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson, because that's not who he is. But he is the type of player who can excel as a slot receiver or a gadget piece, where he's not, asked to win on the boundary and go be the number one guy, but he can instead operate underneath, stress defenses horizontally, and move the chains. And I think that stuff matters. All right. People may not always value what he does because he doesn't show up the same way in a box score, but in a successful offense, having guys who excel in their role is huge. Players who stretch space, help other guys get open, and then, step up in certain moments. That's how offenses stay efficient and stay on schedule. As a pure receiver right now, I'm lower on him compared to some of the guys we'll get into later in this series, but the upside is absolutely there. He can do it. It's just going to take some time, some refinement, and some continued development. If you guys like the way I break down these prospects, focus on the archetypes and traits and how they actually fit, let me know who you want to see next as a wide receiver. And if you want this series to keep rolling in other positions, make sure you're locked in. So we got more stuff to get through. If y'all guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe for more. See you guys later in this video. Goodbye.